NBA trade deadline has come and gone, and your Dallas Mavericks, I would say, were one of the biggest winners. He's Jeffrey Cooperstein. I am Harrison Graham. Coop, what a whirlwind, man.
Oh, man.
2 trades.
Yes.
We'll get to them both. It is trade deadline grades here on Mavericks Today. We'll grade each move, plus a juicy rumor to get to at the end of the show, so stay tuned. It got started this morning. It took a while for the details to be finalized, but Daniel Gafford, the center from Washington, comes over. You flip Richaun Holmes, and then essentially what happened with the pick going to Washington, Coop, is the OKC and Dallas have flipped 2028 first-round picks, and OKC, to do that, gave Dallas a first-round pick because they have like 15 first-round picks. That pick goes to Washington. I love this move, man. We've talked about Gafford a lot.
Yes.
He needed another center. He can start. He can come off the bench. He's a good player, man. Big move.
Yeah, they really needed a guy who could be that backup center behind Derek Lively and basically take the load off him because Lively's been playing 38 to 40 minutes a night. And the Mavericks really haven't had a presence outside of him who's able to control the paint a little bit, can guard those bigger guys. And you get a guy in Gafford who can not only do that, but can also rebound at a pretty high level. I really like the move for them. You would prefer it not to do it with the pick swap, but that's not really a big of a deal because, like you said, it's also in 2028, so who knows what it even looks like by then. But I really like this move for the Mavs. I think it makes them a better team.
Oh, no doubt about it. And we'll get to P.J. Washington here in a little bit, but I would make a pretty decent argument that this move's actually the more impactful one. I mean, you look at the numbers this year, he's averaging about 11 and 8. I love the blocks, like 2.2 blocks per game. This is not a team that's built with great one-on-one defenders, which means you have to have a rim protector, and he can do that. Lively is kind of hit and miss right now as a rookie. He's still learning, but he obviously offers some rim protection, but Gafford is definitely this team's best rim protector now. He's an above-the-rim player offensively as well. He should fit in well with Luka and Kyrie, catching those passes on pick-and-roll situations. So I do think he'll be the backup center, but he's going to be like a 6th starter almost. Like, I do think he'll play consistently 20-plus minutes per night. So I'm excited about him. He's excited to play for a team that can contend, and it should be fun.
Absolutely, and you only had to give up Richaun Holmes in the deal, who was out of the rotation, was never going to play for this Mavericks team. So I have no qualms about that whatsoever.
Your grade for that trade?
That one, I'm going to give it an A.
Yeah, I'd go AA-. I mean, listen, the pick you gave up was a pick you didn't even have, and all you did was swap first-round picks 4 years from now.
Now, imagine if the Mavs are the better team that year as well. They get the better picks. So.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, that was a good trade. And then this one, there's some interesting elements to this one. The Mavs get P.J. Washington, 2 second-round picks in exchange for Grant Williams, Seth Curry, and a 2027 first. Before we get the Washington stuff out of the way, I feel awful for Seth, man.
We talked about this off the air. This is the 3rd time the Mavericks have traded Seth Curry. Now, he knows how the business works, but, like, I mean, he might just retire, man. Like,
yeah.
I feel bad for the guy, man. Now, to be clear, only one of the 3 times did I feel like he got screwed, and that was last time when they flipped him for Josh Green. That was just a mistake,
Josh
Richardson, excuse me. But, man, yeah, like, this sucks for him. They love living in Dallas. I actually know that for a fact because his kids used to go see my wife's mom as their pediatrician. They love living here. Like, they lived here. They had a home here even when
they lived here in the offseason.
Like, this is their home. So this sucks for him. There's no doubt about it. But if you're the Mavs, this really boils down to one thing for me, Coop. You upgraded from Grant Williams, who has had a couple okay games recently, but let's be honest. For about 2 months now, he's been bad. PJ's not having as good of a year as he did last year, but he's still having a better year than Grant Williams. I think this was about upgrading that 4 spot, and I don't think there's any doubt about it. P.J. Washington does that. I mean, your team needs for the Mavericks going into the deadline were a scoring 4, check, P.J. Washington, and a backup center, check.
They got
Daniel
them both.
Gafford.
Yeah,
you can't
absolutely.
be upset with this move. Obviously, you don't love giving up the first, but it felt a little better when the full details came out that you also got 2 seconds back. That can help you in future trades if needed.
Certainly.
So I'm okay with this move. I think the Gafford one is a little better, but I think this one's pretty good as well. I'd give this one probably a B or a B+.
Yeah, when you ask yourself at the end of the day, did the Mavericks get better? I think the answer is absolutely yes. They upgraded on Grant Williams with a guy like P.J. Washington, who is still an undersized 4. He's not going to give you much on the defensive end, but he can rebound a little bit. Where you're really going to get the bonus of having Washington is in the scoring department, because he's going to give you, I think, even more than 13.6 points per game. I think he's going to give you consistency from that spot where the Mavericks just haven't had that in Grant Williams so far. So hopefully the Mavs are able to maximize what they did here at this trade deadline and put themselves into a position where they can contend for this Western Conference.
Yeah, I think out of all the teams in the NBA today, the Mavericks, out of every team that wasn't considered a true contender, have a chance to put themselves in that category if things go right.
Agreed.
Like, it's not just they got these guys and they're there now, but I think the potential's there. Now at center, you don't feel like it's a disaster when you don't have Derek Lively. You feel like you have a more consistent player at that 4 position. And if Maxi Kleber keeps playing well, if he slides into that reserve 4 role, Coop,
right,
like, it's the domino effect, right? Like, you upgrade at starter over Williams. Kleber goes to the bench. He's played pretty good recently. Like, this could not only impact a couple players, this could be like a 4 or 5 player like impact with these 2 additions.
And we were briefly talking about Daniel Gafford, where if Lively isn't able to play, which he isn't tonight, but Gafford won't be there. If he's not able to play, Gafford slides into that starting lineup.
He's a more than capable starter.
Pretty seamlessly. He started every game this year so far for the Washington Wizards. I don't think he will start over Lively when both are healthy.
Agreed.
But that's something that Jason Kidd could explore with, I guess, if he's not feeling that he's getting enough out of Lively. But I think you got a very capable 5, even I would say starting caliber 5, and then you got your starting 4 in P.J. Washington. You also upgraded your overall asset pool. If you wanted to flip these guys in the summer in a bigger deal, you could do that as well.
I want to add one more thing to that note, too, while you guys grade the Mavs trade deadline A, B, C, D, or F. You know what's interesting? P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford's contracts expire in 25-26.
Yes.
The same year Luka and Kyrie's do. So, like, you're kind of seeing, like, and again, you're totally right. Those are both tradable contracts in the offseason. But you're kind of seeing, like, they're kind of telling you, like, we feel like this is a 3-year window right now.
No doubt.
Like, of course, the goal is Luka's here for another 10 years after that.
And Grant Williams' contract was a 4-year deal, so they shortened that with P.J. Washington because he was a 3 as well. So
I think all in all, it was a pretty good day.
It's
I
a
think
win
it's
all
also
the way around.
It's sending a message like, hey, like, we're trying to win now. We also have kind of this 3-year window where we feel like we can maximize Kyrie before he starts to really fall off. And, you know, Luka should still be in his prime in 2026. But, like,
absolutely,
if he's unhappy, he could be gone by then. So, like, you got to respect the Mavericks for, like, putting themselves out there and trying to add to this roster, which they did. We're going to get to an interesting rumor here in just a second. A familiar face, perhaps, returning to Dallas. But I do want to tell you guys about Prize Picks. Daily Fantasy Made Easy, the best daily fantasy sports app on the planet. I can't wait to make some Prize Picks plays with P.J. Washington and with Daniel Gafford. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get a deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. We appreciate them for sponsoring today's show. And the biggest day of the year for Prize Picks is Super Bowl Sunday. 3-player entry, 10 to win 50 here. Well, one's a freebie, half a passing yard for Patrick Mahomes. We're going to select more there. I like Isaiah Pacheco to find the end zone, and give me the receiving yards more for Christian McCaffrey. I think the 49ers and Brock Purdy will utilize him out of the backfield. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get a deposit match up to $100 today. All right, Coop, let's talk about it.
Oh, we have to.
Guess who has been bought out and guess who has been linked to the Dallas Mavericks? That is Spencer Dinwiddie, who
bring him home.
Has not had a great year, but I would make a strong argument that his 50-game stretch, whatever it was with the Mavericks, 60 games, was the most efficient and best basketball of his career. I think the Nets are just a mess right now, so I'm not going to hold these splits completely against Dinwiddie here. Now, look, do I expect him to be a 40+% three-point guy again like he was in Dallas? That's probably wishful thinking. Outside of his stint in Dallas, he's never really been that. But I think his efficiency will improve if the Mavericks sign him, and I think he would be motivated and excited as hell to come back here. He loved his time here, and it was cut short. because they had to go make a move for Kyrie Irving. Man, you get Dinwiddie back. I love the roster shakeup heading into the final stretch of this season.
And Dinwiddie, you can tell that he loves being with the Mavericks. After the Mavs played the Nets the other night, he was chopping it up on the court with Luka, with Daryl Armstrong and God Shamgod. He wants to be here bad, man. He even said when he got traded that he shouted out the Mavs for basically making him falling in love with basketball again. Off the court, he was great here. On the court, it was the best basketball of his career.
They don't make the Western Conference Finals without him.
Absolutely not. 41% from three in his calendar year basically here. Look, I think it would be an awesome addition. The Mavericks could use a third guard like that. Dante Exum's kind of served that role, but he's been in and out of the lineup due to injury, and I think Dinwiddie gives you that guy who can play the one, whereas Exum can really play the one through the three. So I'd be really interested in this.
Well, let me ask you about this, too, because, you lose Seth Curry, who wasn't playing a big role, but he was a guy who could give you some minutes. To me, it kind of comes down to this. Do you trust Jaden Hardy to give you playoff minutes yet?
No.
Maybe, but, Dinwiddie, he knows the system. He's played with Luka. Even if he's not what he was quite to that level, let's say he's, 42% from the field, 36% from three. That'll play on this team.
No doubt about it.
I would absolutely be on board with that. I don't think he'd play as big of a role as he did a couple of years ago, but I think 15 to 20 minutes per game is not off the table for him. He knows the team. He knows Jason Kidd. Kids seem to get the best out of him. Listen, he can play the 1 and the 2 at 6'5". I like this. I would try to bring him back to Dallas.
I'm down for it, man. I just think it would be a fantastic addition to this team when they've already made two really good additions. You had Dinwiddie, man. I mean, I know it would be like a small salary, a small signing and whatnot, but I think it would be a big addition as well.
He'd be in the rotation.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's any doubt. Fill in the blank. The Mavs are the blank best team in the West. I do think they're firmly back in that top 6 conversation, Coop. It's hard to figure out where exactly, but even before this, we've seen the last few games just Kyrie being back, getting a jolt into this team a little bit and taking some pressure off Luka. So if these new additions can help as well, look, at the end of the day, a lot of this is going to come down to Kyrie's health.
For sure.
Luka needs a legitimate sidekick to make this work. So I'll say 6 right now. It's, the West is very loaded. It's hard to place them without seeing these guys play yet, but I do think they're a team that, if things go right, could make the conference final.
I was just pulling up the standings here. Obviously, you have the top 4, which is all jumbled up with OKC, Minnesota, Denver, and the Clippers. I'm not a believer in Minnesota. I don't know what it is about them. I think if the Mavs were matched up against Minnesota,
2-7s here, I think the Mavs would have more than a good chance.
I would like their chances there. Denver obviously is tough. They're the defending champs.
Clips could happen again.
The Clips could happen again. The Suns could happen again.
Whew.
We all know what happened last time Luka played the Suns, so I don't have to say anything there.
Dinwiddie went for 30 in that game 7
yes, he did.
So
look, man, I mean, they're right in the thick of this right now. Hopefully this gives them a spark and really lets them take off. They have a pretty tough stretch of games coming up, including playing Oklahoma City on Saturday.
They play the Knicks tonight. No Jalen Brunson. No
OG. No Josh Hart. No Mitch Robb.
Got to take care of business. Obviously, the Mavs will be a little thin as well after these trades. You're not going to have Gafford or Washington in the building yet, but
hit the thumbs up icon for more Mavericks content. We'll be bringing you buyout targets here coming up soon as well. There's some pretty juicy names out there on the buyout market, so stay tuned for that.
A couple of interesting guys that got cut, too.
Yeah, a couple guys got cut. You got Killian Hayes. You got Robin Lopez on the buyout market, so some interesting names there as well.
Marcus Morris.
He would have to apologize publicly first.
His brother's here.
His brother is here.
Interesting.
We'll talk about it.
All right, stay tuned.
We'll see you.